Hi, everybody. So I'm here with Angela Rivero, and Angela is a somatic practitioner and also the founder of a podcast called Everyday Intimacy. And Angela works a lot with people with chronic conditions and also issues around intimacy as well. So, Angela, perhaps you could share a little bit of your own journey, your health journey, and what got you to where you are today.
Sure. Yeah, I started this journey probably about 8 years ago, and I was definitely struggling with chronic pain and inflammation to the extreme. I really felt like I had a volcano inside my body. And it was hard to sleep because although I wanted to sleep to avoid the pain, when I laid in the same position for a long time, it would be a lot of pain as well. And so it was a struggle for a few years there. And so I went into a journey not thinking like, oh, I'm going to heal chronic illness. I went into the journey because I'm like, I'm struggling mentally because of the pain, and I had anxiety because of the conditions that my body was in. So I didn't go into it with that intention. But what happened is that it started to unfold in a way that really started to support my body. And I started having less pain, less flare-ups. And I was like, okay, what is this? What's going on here? Um, and so I didn't realize that I hadn't been listening to my body as most of us haven't. We weren't taught to do so. And it's really interesting because I've been to many doctors over the years, and most of them don't exactly know what kind of autoimmune thing I have. They had all these different opinions. And for the most part, they say I have like rheumatoid arthritis. And then a lot of doctors have also said I have juvenile idiopathic arthritis, which just means they don't know why I started having issues since childhood. But I don't have the actual markers in my blood work for rheumatoid arthritis. So it's been very interesting in that aspect. But what I discovered is that I think I was in a chronic dysregulation in my nervous system. And so there was a lot of bracing happening in body that I wasn't really conscious of. And so doing different embodiment work and starting to dance and starting to take care of my body and having a relationship with my body started to unwind this in my body. And so that's what really started my journey of discovering there's other ways to start to feel better.
Amazing. And did it take like to get from where you were then to where you are now? Like, did it take quite a lot of dedicated time and practice to do these practices and to commit to your healing? Or tell me a bit more about the journey.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that I did try a lot of holistic approaches like functional medicine doctors and all the diets you can think of. And I also used to be pretty hard on my body as far as doing pretty intense workouts, even though I was in pain. So that was part of the journey as well, starting to listen to like what actually works for my type of body. Um, I don't know that it took a whole lot of dedication. I think it just, like I said, I started having fun dancing and slowing down my body. So it wasn't like I'm like every day I have to do this to like heal, because I think that could also be really stressful on the nervous
Mm,
system.
absolutely.
They're like, oh, what's wrong with me? I have to fix this and all these separate things. And so I think if we start to find ways to be gentle with ourselves and to do activities that include our bodies and start to have a like gentle relationship with it, things naturally unfold. And so I don't think that people have to go into this thinking like I have to do these crazy diets and do all this really hard work. I think that's the
Yes.
opposite feeling that we want for our nervous system. So I think it's more about just like knowing that there is hope,
Yes.
and then there's ways to start to create that relationship. And of course, our healing journeys take time. It's not like I knew about this and then instantly I was better, but I would say within like a year that I started like having a drastic shift in my body, which if you're spending years in chronic difficulties, that's actually pretty fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's, I don't know that it's like this intense hard journey. It's just a different type of journey. It's a shift to where we are now.
So it sounds like from your experience, you initially didn't think there was a way of actually healing
Mhm.
or recovering. It was more just management and trying to make it manage it as well as possible. But you just found actually by doing these embodiment practices, and I'm sure there was other aspects as well that you started to feel better. So then did that give you hope, actually, I can recover from this? And at what point did you realize there was a nervous system aspect to your condition, or perhaps that was the foundation of it?
No, see, I didn't really think much about the nervous system back about 8 years ago. And it wasn't until maybe about 3 years ago that I really understood it from a nervous system perspective. I knew it was something to do with my body and the relationship to that, but I didn't have the language or the words until the last maybe 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And then I started to realize, oh, like there's something going on here. And my childhood wasn't like crazy or super difficult, but there was things that, made me feel that I went into a chronic state of like, dysregulation and like a really tenseness, like I was mentioning. So I didn't have the language. And so I didn't necessarily need to
Yeah.
have language. I just needed to start doing something differently. And I mean, I grew up pretty holistically. And so I did think that I could probably heal myself. So I did try really hard as far as diets and things went, but
Yeah.
nothing really shifted. I might have slightly less inflammation, but it wasn't until I started to really listen to my body and be gentle. And like I said, even going to the gym and being like, okay, everybody else can do this. How do I need to modify? How do I need to slow down that works for my body? And so it was like these little moments that I encountered that I started to shift. And I'm
Mm.
like, whoa, I'm like, I'm not having flare-ups all the time. And I'm not waking up in constant pain. And so now it's been years, and occasionally I still feel a little bit of something happening in my body, but drastically different than what I used to experience. And so I feel like, I don't know that, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what the whole healing journey is for everybody, but I think it's a different relationship. So it's not about trying to go back to, oh, before I started having symptoms. It's like, how can I honor what my body has gone through? And how can I continue to just journey the rest of my life to support my body and my emotions and all the stress that we are exposed to? And so I think that's what it's been for me. It's just, like I said, I know it sounds almost like a cliche or corny, but it is a journey. It's not like a fix in 3 months. And I know we're sold that aspect, but it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily work, you know?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, and since you've been a lot healthier, what have you found? What are your what's in terms of like your daily practices? I mean, or daily
Mhm.
ways of being gentle with your body, coming home to your body. I mean, you mentioned dance as one of the sort of embodiment practices you've done. What else does embodiment mean to you, and kind of yeah, and how does that work on a daily basis for you?
I think just being more present to what I'm experiencing daily. And it's not like a giant practice, but it's like, oh, I can still feel sometimes if there's a revving starting to happen. And then I can be like, I can witness that and be with that. And also knowing that that's going to pass and allowing myself to kind of soften and experience that as opposed to like unconsciously fighting against what the stresses are in life. So I think, like I said, once you kind of start to have some of these things unfold, it doesn't have to be a super intense practice. I think it's just about being conscious of what's happening in our bodies
Yeah,
and being kind to ourselves because we all get triggered. We all have these things.
yeah.
Um, but if we can be okay with the flow instead of being constriction or shutdown, then things start to shift. So yeah, I think that's my practice for the most part is just noticing what's going on today.
Mm, mm. Yeah, yeah. Nice, nice. Well, thank you for sharing with me today on this. And is there, yeah, anything you want to share about the work you do with clients?
Yeah, I mean, as you do as well, I work also with sexuality, female intimacy, and I think they go hand in hand with a lot of the things that are happening in women's bodies. The women tend to have more symptoms of different chronic symptoms, right? And so I just love to go through the things that slowly bring capacity within our nervous system to unwind the things that we aren't noticing that's happening. And again, just finding more relationship with women's bodies that maybe weren't there before, and that unfolds beautifully with the intimacy and different embodiment practice and somatic healing. And most of us have trauma, whether we've had a pretty good childhood or not, we have trauma. And when we can start to like honor that in a way that helps our nervous system, it starts to not be the main thing that drives our lives anymore. And so that's a lot of the work that I do with women as well.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, I'll post a link to your website below and also a link to your podcast as well.
Okay.
And yeah, and you'll also find mine below if you want to explore more about my work. So thanks for talking with me today, Angela. Is there anything you want to leave anyone watching this with today? Any nugget of wisdom or like kind of key part of your healing journey that was important? Or...
I think what I would like for people to believe is, or to know, is that there is hope and you will start to feel it. And also, you are doing enough.
Yeah,
So often we think that we have to do so much and that
that's
it's
relaxing. Yeah.
stressful, but you're doing
Yeah,
enough and you can
yeah.
start to get curious and explore it. It doesn't have to be this heavy, dark healing road. You can find these beautiful glimmers as you do this work and it become less and less heavy every day.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Yeah,
Thank you.
really lovely to chat with
Um,
you today.